All right, welcome to the Jeff Sargent Show. Jeff, as you know, is taking a few days off. He's working, so I'm your host, executive producer Dan Rupp. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. We have a guest today who was in the Bad News Bears. He's going to be on around 7:30. Until then, let me just give some plugs to our sponsors, Pacific Wine Sellers, wine merchants, I'm sorry, right there in downtown Upland on A Street and 2nd Street, right by the Metrolink. They also have the Cigar Exchange, if you're a cigar aficionado. They have the biggest humidifier, I think, in the Inland Empire, and you can get some great cigars there. I don't smoke, I don't drink, but I'll go there and enjoy the patio because they got live music, and it's great. It's a great atmosphere. Go there and meet some friends, and it's a great place, because, Mark owns the business. Mark was my neighbor for many years in Upland. So, Pacific Wine Merchants and Cigar Exchange, it's a great place. It is. Whether you drink and you don't smoke, like I don't, I go there and get some San Pellegrino and, and sit there with my friends who do drink and smoke, and that's great. It's a good thing, man. Some people may criticize me or my other friends, but, it's a good thing. So that's, our number one sponsor. Number two, New York Bagel Company, right here in Ranch Cucamonga up the street. My friend Jamal owns it. He is right there in Archibald and Foothill, right next to Starbucks, right next to the comic book store where Miller's Outpost used to be. It's in the corner. It used to be like a yogurt shop or one of those strange boba shops. I don't know. I don't even know what a boba is. I know they have those little things in them. But, so I want to thank those sponsors for helping us get by. We don't work on a big budget here at the station. So thank you to them. What I'm going to do as I set up, I'm going to play some music, and I'll get right back into it, and we'll have our guest on. And so I got to get things situated. So, it's great to be here at chaoticradio.com. If you want to call in and talk to me or to our guest, it's 909-360-8330. That's our number. My guest today is going to be a great iconic guest. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone. He played the catcher in Bad News Bears, that kind of chunky dude. So no, it's Gary Cavanaco. I murder last names. I'm not good at them, but I'll let him tell you when he calls in at about 7:30. So until then, I'm gonna play some music, and I'll do a little talking of my own opinions and stuff. So Jeff Sargent, if you do this to me again, I'm just gonna murder you. Okay, so. If you don't hear from Jeff next week, it's because I went to his house and killed him for leaving me on the show by my own. So, so that's about it. Let me play some music here. This is Reverend Horton Heat.
The doctor says I'm living on precious borrowed time, with all the time I'm giving to liquor, beer, and wine. The x-rays of my liver look like molded old Swiss cheese. My heart pumps blood and alcohol through hardened arteries. Everybody knows me down at the local bar. I drink until I can't see, and I wonder where you are. I guess I let my health go since you quit being mine. But there was nothing to replace you except liquor, beer, and wine. Liquor, beer, and wine is a flashing sign I see. Every single morning I get up, it's a buzzing down at me. I look up to the heavens for a ray of hope to shine. And there it is in neon, liquor, beer, and wine. Ever since you've left me, I've lived out of my car, parked between the liquor store and Uncle Bubba's bar. Booze helps ease the heartache, but you're constantly in mind, as constant as that buzzing noise of Uncle Bubba's sign. Liquor, beer, and wine is a flashing sign I see. Every darn morning I get up, it's a buzzing down at me. I look up to the heavens for a ray of hope to shine. And there it is in neon, liquor, beer, and wine.
Wow, liquor, beer, and wine flashing down on me. No, sorry, Reverend, I have to cut you off, dude. But what a great song. I played this one yesterday. I'm going to play it again today just because I love it. I have a love for this song. Like, you don't know. It reminds me of me and my wife celebrating Christmas, and that song is a lonely song, Liquor, Beer, and Wine. How many times have you woke up in a dumpster with a neon sign flashing liquor, beer, and wine? I mean, I have. I've done it. I've been there. But we're going to move on, and I'm going to play the Fairy Tale of New York, one of my favorite songs that, like I said, reminds me of my wife because we always listen to this song during the holidays. And I'm not a big holiday music guy, and I know it's far away. No, you know what? Christmas is not that far away. It's like, 30 days away? Who went to Black Friday? Did anybody go to Black Friday? I sure as hell didn't. 909-360-8330 if you want to call in and explain what the hell were you thinking going to Black Friday. I don't know, but here we go. Fairy Tale of New York by the Pogues.
It was Christmas Eve, babe, in the drunk tank, an old man once said to me, won't see another one. And then he sang a song, the rare old mountain tune. I turned my face away and dreamed about you. Got on a lucky one, came in 18 to 1. I've got a feeling this year's for me and you. So happy Christmas, I love you, baby. I can see a better time when all our dreams come true.
They got cars big as bars, they got rivers of gold, but the windows right through you, it's no place for the old. When you first took my hand on a cold Christmas Eve, you promised me Broadway was waiting for me. You were handsome,
You were pretty queen of New York City. When the band finished playing, they held out for more.
Sinatra was swinging, all the drunks they were singing. We kissed on the corner, then danced through the night. The boys of the NYPD choir were singing, go away, babe. And the bells were ringing out for Christmas Day. You're a bum, you're a punk,
You're an old slut and junk lying there almost dead on a drip in that bed.
you scumbag, you maggot, you cheap, lousy faggot. Happy Christmas, you're ours, I pray God it's our love. The boys of the NYPD choir still singing, go away, babe. And the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day.
I could have been someone.
Well, so could anyone. You took my dreams from me when I first found you.
I kept them with me, babe. I put them with my own. Can't make it all alone. I built my dreams around you.
The boys of the NYPD choir still singing, go away, babe.
And the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day.
Yes, that was the Pogues. Wow, that's one of the best songs I've ever heard. The singer is amazing. It's a great band. I love the Irish twang to their music. It's very good. Wow, that was a good song. I could never get tired of that song. It reminds me so much of so many things and so many dreams. Wrapping presents under the Christmas tree, listening to that, it almost brings tears to your eyes. But it's a great song, so So no, so you mean listen to stuff like that. It's great things. Here's another great one because it's kind of funny because it's tongue in cheek. It's by the Ramones. Merry Christmas. I don't want to fight tonight. Christmas is a great time for celebration, a great time to be with family. But when you're married, guess what? You're going to fight because your wife spent too much on presents. You're going to fight because your husband's out drinking with his friends. You're going to fight because of this and that, you know. Christmas brings not only joy, it brings fighting. So here's the Ramones. Merry Christmas. I don't want to fight tonight.
Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight with. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight with you. Oh, where is Santa and his sleigh? And tell me why is it always this way? Where is Rudolph? Where is Blitzen, baby? Merry Christmas, Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. All the children are tucked in their beds. Sugar plum fairies dancing in their heads. Snowball fighting, it's so exciting, baby. I love you and you love me, and that's the way it's got to be. I knew it from the start, 'cause Christmas ain't the time for breaking each other's heart. Where is Santa and his sleigh? And tell me why is it always this way? Where is Rudolph? Where is Blitzen, baby? Merry Christmas, Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. All the children are tucking their beds. Sugar plum fairies dancing in their heads. Snowball fighting, so exciting, baby. Ah, yeah, 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 I love you and you love me, and that's the way it's got to be. I knew it from the start, 'cause Christmas ain't the time for breaking each other's heart. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight with. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight with. Merry Christmas, I don't want to fight tonight with you.
Yeah, if my wife is listening, I don't want to fight with you, okay? So just be cool, okay? We're going to play one more song here, and we're going to get to our guest. This is a Trans-Siberian Orchestra, a great band. I wish I could see them. I don't know when they're coming out here, but it's not punk rock, you know, type of thing. It's kind of a weird mix of music. I don't even know what to call it. But here we go.
An angel came down one night to the earth, a mission from God to find out the worth of everything that his children had done since that winter night, the birth of his son. And then a sound filled the night in the cold winter air, and in the midst of his flight, it was holding him there. And as he looked towards the earth for the source of the sound, on that cold winter night, it was pulling him down. To bring something back, this angel was told that no one could touch, but angels could hold. So on that night, when the sky had cleared, among all the stars, an angel appeared. midst of his flight, it was holding him there. And as he looked towards the earth for the source of the sound on that cold winter night, it was pulling him down.
Let me put myself back on the air. I'm sorry. I'm operating a one-man show today.
Not a problem.
Okay. So let's see here. Our guest today, he played the catcher, and I know that's not like, it's, to me it's a big deal because that was a big movie for me when I was growing up. For one, had a big crush on Christy McNeil. How was it working with her? Oh, introduce yourself first. I'm sorry. I'm getting right into Christy McNeil.
No, it was Tatum O'Neal.
Tatum O'Neal. Tatum, okay.
Yeah, Tatum was Amanda in the movie, and she was just coming off of making Paper Moon, and she was 11-year-old kid who had won an Academy Award. So when she came on set initially, she was a little bit snooty, but within a week or so, she was just another one of the gang. So, she was a pleasure to work with. Actually, we all the kids on the set amazingly got along very well. There was very little trouble between any of us.
So, do you stay in contact with anybody, Gary?
Sure. As a matter of fact, I was with my friend Chris Barnes just this past weekend, or actually 2 weekends ago, here in Dallas. He was in here doing a made-for-TV show. He's a producer. Earlier this month, I was with Aaron Blunt, who played Ahmad, and David Pollack, who played Rudy Stein, in Parsippany, New Jersey, where we did the Chiller Theater show, which was basically it's an autograph show. It's kind of like I want to say it's like a sports show for movies, though, where they set you up at tables, various people at tables. They have everything from wrestlers to movie actors to they had Tony Dow and Jerry Mathers there at Beaver reunion, and you do the autograph. So the three of us were together there in Parsippany for that, and that's really the first time that more than one of us at a time have been together for an autograph show of any kind. And then about a year ago in Moore Park, 5 of us got together for the 40th anniversary, and they did it. They rented, or they didn't rent. They did it for charity. The little 1940s theater there in Moore Park, 1950s theater there in Moore Park. They blocked it off, showed the movie, and sold seats for charity, and then we did a question and answer session afterwards. So we've more in the last 5 or 6 years, as we've all gotten older and not crushed by day-to-day events with our kids and our family and work and everything, we've had some time to get back together and reconnect. And certainly Facebook and the advent of that has helped as well. So I pretty well keep in touch with everybody now.
So, do you see yourself ever doing like you know, some type of, I don't know if you could remake. You can't remake that movie because
Oh, gosh, no.
the movie I watched it last night because I'm like, well, I got to do my homework. I could go on Wikipedia and go through the internet and stalk you and look at all your everything you've done. But I said, no, you know what? I'm just going to rent the movie and watch that. And I watched it, and it's so non-PC. Kids giving out the middle finger, saying the S word, the F word, and everything else. And it's like...
The racial slurs.
Yeah,
the
racial
ethnic
slurs. Yeah.
It's
It's so non-PC, but it's kind of like... Blazing Saddles, that's a movie too, but it got more glory because Mel Brooks. Bad News Bears, those people, I've kind of turned some people onto it in my social media because I have you on my show today or on Jeff Sargent show, and they they don't realize how great the movie is, and then they go back, they watch it, and go, Dan, I watched it too. I'd go, yeah, it's a great movie, and they're like, yeah, it is, it's great.
Well, it was the first movie of its kind, and by that what I mean is, it's the first movie where the underdog, who you cheer for, rooting for, and everything, did not win at the end, and that was a conscious decision. We actually filmed two endings, one where we won the championship, and the one where we lost. Paramount insisted that they wanted us to win because that was the way things happened in Hollywood. The good guys always won. And Michael Ritchie fought tooth and nail and was supported by Stanley Jaffe, Michael being the director, Stanley being the producer, and former president of Paramount Studios. They fought to change that mold, and they ended up winning. And what made Bad News Bears the cult classic it became was the fact that we did not win. Had we won, it would have just been another nice little feel-good show. But the fact that we lost, the fact that it taught the lesson that the good guys don't always win. It's okay not to always win as long as you give it your all, which goes totally against the new culture of everybody gets a participation trophy, right? But that's what made it the cult classic it became, and it's right up there with Rocky Horror Picture Show and Blazing Saddles as movies that people of my generation, the baby boomers, go back to again and again and again, and they turn their children onto it. So we never, in a million years, and we talked about this as a group during the 40th anniversary show. Never in a million years would we have ever thought that 40 years later people
meet us and see the reruns of the movies and get autographs. I get letters, probably a half a dozen a week, of people sending me baseball cards or pictures that they want me to autograph and sign, which just blows me away that anybody other than my wife on the bottom of a check wants to see my signature anywhere. So it's kind of it's a unique. It was a unique experience, and it continues to be.
That's great. So let me ask you this: how was it like working with Walter Matthau? Did he really drink on set? Because
oh gosh, no.
No.
No. Now Walter and Jack Lemmon and Burt Lancaster and John Wayne, that whole generation of actors who basically came out of vaudeville, they were all at certain points in their lives very heavy drinkers. And Walter, honestly, and he was very upfront with the mothers when he talked to them, because we all had our mothers on the sets as guardian. He had been an alcoholic, but by the time we did Bad News Bears, he was a recovered alcoholic, and for the most part, there were certain scenes where he had to pop a top and take a swig, and that would be real beer. The technology wasn't there to airbrush in anything at that time. But for the most part, when you see him with an open can, and when the scene started, that was an empty can that they had put ginger ale into.
Oh, okay.
So he did not. And likewise, the last scene where we all are given beer, and we start throwing it around and everything, that was all ginger ale in those bottles. The very last day of filming, the parents all consented to let real beer be in there. But unfortunately, from the kids' standpoint, by the time we realized it was real beer, we had already started throwing it around at each other, and there was nothing left to drink. So.
Okay, like I'm really bad at names, but my wife watched the movie with me for a bit last night, and she has not a crush, but she said the little blonde kid, the feisty one. She said, he is so cute. He is just so cute. I don't know if he is today.
Well, I mean, I assume she's talking feisty little blonde kid being Tanner.
Yeah,
that's Chris Barnes. Yeah, that's Chris Barnes. And Chris, actually, I was as I said earlier, I was with him last weekend, and actually the weekend before, he was in Dallas for a couple of weeks doing a show. And, would I say he's cute? That's really not something I gauge other guys by. But I mean, Chris is a grown-up version of what he was in the movie. Let's just put it that way. So,
yeah,
if she liked him then, I'm sure she'd like him now.
I'll keep my wife away from him. So, after the Bad News Bears, did you do the number 2 movie?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did not do breaking training. They asked me to do breaking training. During the filming of Bad News Bears, I got very ill. I got bronchitis, and that was threatening to turn into pneumonia because, of course, when you're doing a movie, it's 18-hour days out on the set. So you get run down and overtired, and being overweight and out of shape as I was, that was not a good combination. So I went to the doctor, and I had always been an overweight kid, and my own pediatrician had always said to my mom, "He'll grow out of it, don't worry." I went to a doctor in California when I was sick, and he sat me down and said, "What are you doing?" Said, "At the rate you're going, you're going to be in a wheelchair by the time you're 15, and you're going to be dead before you're 20. You need to lose this weight." And this literally scared the bejeebers out of me. And so I immediately went on a diet, and you can see in certain scenes in the movie where it's apparent, I lost 30 pounds while I was making the movie.
Wow.
I started out 210, and by the time I came home, I was, I think, 182, so 28 pounds. And then when I got home, I continued that, and I also got a growth spurt where I went from 5'1" to about 5'8". And so by the time the second one came about, I was about 5'8" and weighed 160 pounds, which was not the character. So when they called me and asked me to do it, they said, "By the way, you're going to have to gain 50 pounds back." And I said, "No, I don't want to do that." That doctor had scared me, and I'd worked really hard to get the weight off, and I just refused to do that. And so I did not participate in the second movie.
Yeah, no, it's easy to put weight on, but to take it off is very difficult. Believe me, I've been there.
Right. And so, let's face it, a 13-year-old kid doesn't need to weigh 250 pounds.
250?
No matter. That's what they were pushing me towards.
Wow. No, that's not healthy. That's like really bad. No. How tall are you?
Now I'm 6 foot tall.
Okay.
Just a shade over.
And right now you live in Texas.
Was born and raised here. Never left other than for filming the movies.
Oh, except for the movies. Where was the Bad News Bears filmed at?
San Fernando Valley.
Wow.
When we filmed it, there were three houses that at some point in time during the filming you can see in the background, and they were acreage. You know, they were large houses with large acreage around them, and there was basically nothing else in that area other than a strip center about a quarter of a mile down the road that had a Lowe's barbecue and a Swenson's ice cream and a couple other stores in it. I went back there probably 6-7 years ago. I was back in town on business. I drove by the field, and it's literally wall-to-wall condominiums all the way up to the four sides of the field. It was amazing how much it's filled in. But back there that summer of 1975, there was nothing out there.
Yeah, because the field looks Southern California, so I guess it was.
Right.
They really don't say where it was filmed that I can remember in the film. But the film is great, and Walter Matthau was great. Did he play like a father figure to you guys?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he was just a genuinely nice man. You know, he had a son late in life with his wife that was the exact same age as us. So, you know, as a matter of fact, he did a cameo. His son did a cameo appearance in the movie. He's a member of the athletics baseball team. That when Tanner sticks up for Timmy Lupus, you know, when Jackie Haley sticks up for Tanner, the kid comes up and says, "Does he blow your nose or wipe your nose for you too, Tanner?" That is Walter's son, Charlie. So since he had a kid our age, he was very open and fatherly to all of us, and we kept in touch until his death. When I was married in 1987, in fact, he sent just a beautiful card and gift to us, and we exchanged Christmas cards the rest of his life. And I know a couple of the guys who were from California had gone out to lunch with him after they became adults, and he always made time for them. So he was just a very, very, very nice man, and so respectful of our mothers, because all of us were young children, and in California under strict laws you have to have a guardian on the set with you, and so all of us had our mothers there, and they would gather under the shade trees out behind the backstop, and he and at times Jack Lemmon would be there with him. They'd go over there and they'd engage the mothers in conversation, and they'd start hamming up doing their old vaudeville routines. So they were just down to earth, really nice men.
Wow, that's good to hear. You don't always hear that. You always hear like, you know, I had someone on my show. You know, they're like, "Oh, this guy's a jerk." You know, Ben Affleck is one of them, and I'm sure you haven't worked with him. I never have. I've done one movie, and that was a Corey and Corey movie, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman movie. So that's my credentials. Other than that, it's PBS TV and my little radio show here, which I produce. And you know, unfortunately, Jeff Sargent is out. He's been in some movies and stuff. So.
Well, that whole generation of actors. Again, you know, the screenplay was done by Burt Lancaster's son. So Burt came out to the set several times in his Moses regalia. If you remember when he was Moses, he'd come out to the San Fernando Valley. He had that big fur vest on and this big bushy beard. Just an enormous man. He was like 6'7". He's just huge. But he was out there. John Wayne was a good friend of Walter's. He came out a couple times. Certainly Jack Lemmon was out there frequently. He and Walter were not only close in the movies, they were truly very close friends. In fact, I had the honor on my birthday of him being there, and he and Walter took me to lunch at Love's Barbecue. And it was just the two of them and I. And so it was, they were just nice men. They were, you know, but they came from a generation where they had nothing. As vaudeville entertainers, they had nothing. And so they knew what it was like not to know where your next meal was coming from, right? It's not like the Barbara Streisand and Ryan O'Neal generation on forward to this one, where you hit it big early, and you have money to burn, and that money gives you influence to get involved in things that John Wayne and people like that and Walter, they would never have thought to get involved in political campaigns or anything like that. So it was just a totally different era, and in my personal opinion, a much better era for Hollywood.
Yeah, it was. You just actors act. Football players should play football. They should. I don't. My personal opinion, they shouldn't be making their political, things by kneeling. I stand up straight during the national anthem, whether I play it here at the station or whatever. I put my hand over my heart. I love this country, and I will.
And you've probably done that since you were a kid in elementary school, and they were playing over the announcements, and that's what you were taught.
Yeah,
that's what you were taught. But we can't teach our kids that anymore. So that's a whole different story.
It's not PC, and I'm not PC. People tell me I'm like, dude, you're a crazy Republican, and I'm like, no, I'm just level-headed. I love my country. Why is loving your country wrong now? I don't get it.
I don't get that either. And, I'm from Texas, which is, very deep red. And, that's the way we're taught from early age. And it's not that we're not free thinkers. Many of our cities are extremely liberal on the local level. But from a state level, they're kept within their bounds by a very conservative state legislature, and by and large, we're the Bible Belt. So that's the other thing. When our currency says, "In God you trust, in God we trust." When did being a Christian or a Jew or even a Muslim, when did being a person of religion become a negative thing in this country? And that's all you hear these days, especially if you're Christian, and I know we're getting kind of far afield from our conversation because we were talking about Bad News Bears, so I apologize, but I don't understand if you believe in God, whether you call him God, Yahweh, or Muhammad or Allah, you gotta have something more to believe in, and I don't know why that's wrong, but apparently it is, and it makes me old-fashioned according to what I've been told. So, so be it.
Yeah. You know what? Let's go back here because I want to ask you a question. Jack Lemmon was my favorite actor after I saw The China Syndrome. The China Syndrome, he was with Jane Fonda was in it, I believe. And the China Syndrome was, and that was before politics got all crazy. China Syndrome was a great movie, and Jack Lemmon from that moment on became my favorite actor. Then I went back and I saw all his movies, the original Odd Couple, with him and Walter Matthau. How was Jack Lemmon in person?
Again, very much like Walter. I mean, he was as I said, that whole group of actors of that generation, having come from vaudeville, as you can imagine, they worked in bars. So many of them developed drinking issues. You can throw Vic Morrow, who played the Yankees coach, in that same group. And so by the time I met all of them in Bad News Bears, while Bad News Bears was filming, they were in their late 40s, early 50s, and they had wrestled with those demons, and for the most part, everyone I mentioned here had won that match, and they were all sober and I guess you say recovering alcoholics, because you're never cured, recovering alcoholics. But they were all just genuinely nice, good people who loved their families, loved their country, And yeah, they were open about it. So I can say that very easily because all of them were very open about their patriotism, and it was a thing that you wore on your sleeve back then. And it came through in their movies that they chose. You look at somebody like John Wayne, gosh, he's the ultimate patriot. Those weren't just parts he was playing; that was him. And so, again, Jack Lemmon was just a very personable, nice man, very genuine. He was not Felix Unger. That was not his persona. He wasn't neat and everything, but he was like very much like the role he played in The Office. I think that was it, where he was the mid-level manager who was responsible for renting an apartment that all the bigwigs used for their girlfriends, and he was trapped by his own morality. That was very much Jack Lemmon.
Wow.
He was a very and Walter, and from what I saw, Burt Lancaster and his son Bill Lancaster, who was our who wrote the screenplay. That was their whole. They were very moral, upstanding people.
Now I could go online and Google search the coach of the Yankees, but you'll know him by name. You just mentioned his name.
Right, Dick Morrow.
Okay, they made him be such a prick. You hated him in that movie. I hated him in that movie last night when I was watching it.
Well, that was the lesson they were teaching, though. That was
was that really him, or was he
years,
like a cool dude in person?
No. He was a really, really nice guy. Vic, his claim to fame had been the Combat series. World War II, it was called Combat. That's what everybody knew of our generation knew him from, and he was the tough sergeant. He was kind of, if people remember comic books, there was one called Sergeant Rock, I think it was, or something like that. It had Easy Company. That was based upon his character in Combat. And but again, a hard drinking person in his early life who had gotten past that. Not quite as far past as Walter and Jack had, but he was a bit younger too. But he was he was from New York, New Jersey. I'll never forget on my birthday, they had me dressed up in my "I'm Available" T-shirt, and I was doing the scene where I went and got stomped to the plate and grabbed the ball and threw it and broke Walter's the coach's windshield. And so I came in and they put me in there. I said, "Why are we shooting this again? I thought we've already finished this one." They said, "Just do it and be quiet." So I do it. And I pick up the ball. I turn around, and Michael Ritchie and Stanley Jaffe, the director and producer, have lemon pies, and they throw them in my face, and they get it all on film, which I, by the way, just recently found the film of it when we moved my mom. But being a kid, it totally shocked me, and I picked up the pie, and I started chasing them, and I threw it back at them. And Vic came to me afterwards. He goes, "Kid, you got a lot of balls." So I'm like, "What the hell?" He goes, "The way you chased them down after they hit you with those pies, that was a sight to see." He goes, "You got a lot of balls." And that was just Vic. I mean, he wasn't a kid person, so to speak, but he was a very nice man who kept a little bit more to himself than Walter did, but was always open to us and always set a really good example for the kids on the set.
Yeah. So we talked about Walter Matthau, and I guess he wasn't drinking, but the way I guess the director or producer they made it look like he was drinking all the time. Like, there's always a different type of beer, He didn't discriminate. There's
whatever was cheapest.
Yeah, there's the old pull tops, which was great because that reminds me of my grandfather. When I was a kid, he used to have the old pull tops, and Schlitz, and there's Schaefer, and there's Coors, and there's, but you were caught behind, you jumped behind the fence, and you were eating I think a Twinkie or something. I don't know. Was that real?
A Mounds candy bar.
Oh, Mounds candy bar. Well,
Yeah, I'll never forget that. I don't like coconut, but they insisted, so I guess it was a sponsor. And yes, it was a real candy bar. The one thing they did do is back in those days, if you remember, they used to put a stiffener, a cardboard stiffener in the package underneath the candy bar.
Yeah.
And the one concession, and fortunately, the paper, it was actually paper back then, wax paper, versus now it's kind of a foil paper. So when I bit through it and took the paper and everything, it was really a real candy bar with real paper. The one concession that they did make was they took that cardboard stiffener out of it.
Yeah, because the kid that was with you right behind the outfield or wherever you guys were supposed to do laps, he's like, "Can't you at least take the wrapper off?" And you're that's a great scene.
That was Alfred Lutter, who played Ogilvy.
Oh, okay. I didn't take notes last night. I was too busy just enjoying the movie.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did. It's been years since I've seen the movie. So, I said I got two choices. I could either watch the movie or go on Wikipedia and go Google and do this and do that. And I'm like, no, you know what? I'm just going to rent the movie. And, I had to go to Amazon and, rent the movie. And it was so enjoyable. But it just reminds me how non-PC the movie was. And how things have gone so astray from back then. And it's in the same bag of mine as Blazing Saddles. It's a great movie, but you can't do that anymore, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I guess I don't know when we became so serious about it ourselves. And if there's one thing that I think as a society we're one place where we've gone wrong, it's our inability to laugh at ourselves anymore. And that's basically what that's what that movie did. It exposed us to ourselves, the good and the bad. I mean, the good being Walter. When he comes to the realization that he's become exactly what he didn't want to be, and that is Turner, the coach of the Yankees, the win at all costs. And he sees what he's become, and he stops, and he gets introspective, and suddenly he puts in all the guys that have been sitting on the bench all year, because the reality of it is he got into this so that everybody could play. That's the good. The bad is Turner, the win at all costs. Drive these kids, treat them like they're adults. Don't let them enjoy the joy of being a child playing baseball. It's all about winning, and even to the extent where you drive your son to almost being another kid, me, and then go out there and blame him for an action that you yourself are responsible for. That's the bad side of it. And what this movie did was show us ourselves and show us the traps that we as parents get into with our children by trying to live vicariously through them. And that's what made it so powerful. And then, as I said earlier, the fact that we didn't win, it's almost as if it was trying to say, it's okay. You did your best. You don't always have to win. It's what's the old saying when we were kids? It's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. I can't remember the last time I heard anybody tell our kids that in recent years. But that's something that I was raised by, and you're of my generation, so I'm certain you knew that. You heard that as well. But now it's all about winning. And it's so much all about winning that everybody gets to win.
Everybody gets a trophy.
And you know as well as I do in real life, it's not that way.
No, it's not.
I grew up at the time, and part of the reason I faded away from movies was when I got back in Texas, I started playing sports. I played football in high school, in college. I was very competitive, and those sports taught me how to win graciously and how to lose graciously.
Now, okay.
That set me up for real life, because you don't always win in real life, right?
Right.
You got to learn how to lose. And we're doing, in my opinion, we do a huge disservice to our children today by telling them no matter what the effort is they put into it, no matter what their skill level is, they're going to win.
Yeah.
That's not true.
You're right. Now, the Bad News Bears was a comedy, but somewhat of a comedy. But what almost brought me to tears, you know, and I'm just being honest, you know, it almost did, but you know, was when the pitcher threw the game, when the Yankees pitcher just didn't throw the ball and wouldn't let people take the ball from him, and he was like, because his dad came out there and yelled at him, and he just threw it, you know, he just kept throwing balls, you know, on purpose, and then he just took the ball and he just threw it, and he, you know, and then he's like, "No, you're getting out." And he's like, "Nope." He just held on to that ball, and he's like, you know, and his mom came out and kind of saved him.
Right, and that's, you know, Turner had become, his father had become, you know, the ultimate.
Yeah, he smacked him right in the middle of the field.
Right. But for doing basically what he's been telling the kid to do, which is win at all costs. You know, and that was the introspective part of it, was Joey, who was Brandon Cruz, excuse me. Joey Turner had become his father, you know, and then his father didn't like what he saw in his kid, and he came out and he was so angry he hit him in front of everybody. And that's what led to him holding on to the ball and me rounding the bases on a dribbler for in the park home run. You know, but the father had become the son had become the father, and the father really didn't like what he saw. And Walter, you see the shot of him watching this whole thing, and that's when it dawns on him, and he realizes he's become just like Turner, and that's when he has to change, because he doesn't. Turner was everything he despised.
Yeah.
You know? And that's when he turns around and says, "Okay, we're going to send in Ogilvy, you're going in, and Jaime and Georgie, you're going in, and you know, we can still win. You're right, we can still win, but we'll do it the right way." So there were a lot of you're right. It was a comedy. It was intended to be a comedy, but it was also intended to be a mirror of our society.
It was.
And it was.
Yeah, no, it was, because I played baseball as a kid, and I was the guy in right field with you know, my mitt on my head, and I was dancing around doing nothing and just you know, sucking my thumb, twiddly-doo, twiddly-da, you know, I didn't care, you know. Right fielder, you know, the ball would come towards me, and I'd be like, get it away from me, you know. So, yeah, I would have been a good Bad News Bears player. But, so what did you do after that? Did you do any more acting, or?
Oh yeah, I did a couple of things. I did one that started filming. Oh gosh, I want to say 4 or 5 weeks after Bad News Bears wrapped up. It was called Drive-In. It was a Columbia Pictures movie. It was things that happened in a small West Texas town at the drive-in on a Friday night, and it was a fairly low budget film. I was the only person who had any acting experience, and all the actors were drawn from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's filmed in Carroll, Texas, and but it went on to do very well in the box office. And my big brother in the movie, a guy by the name of Glenn Morshower, has become a very well-known and well-respected character actor in Hollywood over the years. He's actually the General Morshower in all the Transformer movies, for instance. And he's a very good friend of Michael Bay, and works with him on several of his projects. So I did that. I did one called Crisis at Central High, which was the integration of Little Rock Central, and how Governor Favis of Arkansas called out the National Guards to make the black students go home, and President Eisenhower called out the 101st Airborne to make the National Guard of Arkansas go home. and escort the black students into Little Rock Central High School. That had Burroughs Durning and Joanne Woodward in it. And then I did several commercials as well. So, I did a few things. I was up for a part in Jaws 2 that would have been when I was a sophomore in high school, and went to New York, did the readings. My understanding was I was going to get the part. And at that point in time, I was called up as a sophomore to the varsity football team, which the last sophomore to have played at my high school on varsity at the time had been Doak Walker. So it was a very big honor. And I decided I wanted to be a kid. So I said, hey, I'm going to take my hat out of the ring. Not interested in doing this, which is something that you don't do in Hollywood. Once they've invested in bringing you out and interviewing and so on. So that was basically the end of my career when I did that. So,
Yeah,
but no regrets.
Good. Because a lot of child actors, there's a stigma about child actors. For the movie that I was in with Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, they turned to drugs, and a lot of their lives end short. You seem to be doing good, and you're healthy, and you're not suicidal or making crazy albums, and you're not dating porn stars or anything. It seems like you're pretty level-headed.
Well, I try to be. I guess I'm like everybody else. I've made my mistakes in life as well, but I credit to a very strong family life. Two parents that stayed together until their death, or until my father's death. My mother's still alive. Was very fortunate to meet and marry a beautiful woman early in life at the age of 23, and we've been together for 30 years and raised 4 children, and we've tried to instill those same values in them. So I've been very fortunate and very blessed, and therefore that's allowed me the luxury of living a fairly conservative and very, very, very good and rewarding life.
Amen. I just became a grandfather last month.
My first one was born in February, so I'm right there with you.
That's wonderful. You spoil them rotten, and then you send them home.
That's right.
No, we're going to get her all next weekend. So she's beautiful. Charlotte Rose. We call her Charlie. And no, she's my wonderful granddaughter. I'm very proud. I brag all the time. And I'm proud of my son and my daughter-in-law. And I don't believe in daughter. I don't always say in-law. I just say my daughter. And I hate in-laws and steps and this and that because my family's filled with steps. So, I got 4 stepsisters and I got 4 in-law sisters, and I'm just like, they're just my sisters. I don't care. I don't deal with steps. It's too complicated. Who cares? I don't know. I just don't go there. I don't have to explain myself to everybody because I'll tell you what. Actually, my son is not my son. I raised him since he was 2 because his dad was a creep. But my wife had him when she was 18, and I got with my wife when she was like 20. And, and he was 2. So I raised him since he was 2. So he became my son. So he is my son, and he took on all my characters,
Right.
I show people of my granddaughter, and they're like, she looks just like you. And they don't realize that biologically she's not, even linked to me, but she is, but she's not, but she is, but she's not. I just say thank you because she is. She's gorgeous, gorgeous little girl. So what is your take on Hollywood now? Not like, what are you doing now? Are you acting now, or is that done?
Oh no, that's done. That's done and done. I I am in business now. I am a sales manager for a multinational electronics company, so board level electronics, and I'm responsible for a region that goes from Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, all the way through Mexico and all of South America.
Wow.
And so I do quite a bit of traveling. But it's a very rewarding job, and it's a wonderful. It's a Japanese company, and they take very good care of their people. So it's a good place to work, and I interact with lots of wonderful people. I tell people I feel very fortunate that I can say that there's nobody I work with on a day-to-day basis that I come into contact with within my company that I don't like, which there's been times in my life I could never say that, and never thought I'd be able to say that, but we just have a really, really good team and enjoy it immensely. And then, of course, as I said, I'm married to a beautiful, beautiful young lady by the name of Kimberly, and we've been married 30 years, and we have 4 wonderful children, a daughter and 3 boys, and my first grandson, Jace. So, life is good. Knock on wood.
Okay. I'll get a little personal here. Okay, because we covered pretty much all the grounds as far as your career and where you're going now and what you're doing, and that's wonderful to hear. That you're in that business and you like it and you enjoy it. I enjoy this business here, being in radio. I don't make much money off of it. I make money off getting advertisers and sponsors and stuff like that. Wow. Okay, so you're a grandfather just like me, which is cool. That's great. And you're married, which just like me, I've been married 20. My wife, Rhonda, I hope you're not listening. It's been 23 years, I think I've been married. How about you, Gary?
I've been married 30 years.
30? Wow. Okay, you hit the 30-yard mark. A lot of people can't do that. Does religion play a part in your life?
Absolutely.
Good. Because you need God. God to me is a glue. Because people I'm in my late 40s, and I've had several friends get divorced. And most of my friends that get divorced don't have a personal relationship with God. And where me and my wife do, we go to church on Sundays, and it keeps us grounded, and it keeps us together. We could fight, but God is the glue. He kind of glues us together again. If we separate, or if I get mad and I leave and I go to my dad's house, God just kind of glues us back. He's like this gorilla glue, God's great.
Yes, he is. Honestly, if and this again, I can only speak from personal experience, but, if I understand that there are those people who don't believe, or who choose not to believe because it's difficult. It's easier just to focus on the now and the present and yourself. And I understand there's people like that. My position has, in fact, I have people like that in my own family. I'm sad to say. My position is, if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in an afterlife, in heaven, so to speak, what's the purpose?
Yeah.
So
it's weird for me because I'm not a counselor. I'm not registered or anything, but I work at the rehab center I was at because, I'm an alcoholic. Okay. My name's Dad. I'm an alcoholic. So, no, but when I go to rehab, a lot of the dudes there, they're like, well, I don't believe in a higher power. I'm like, how can you not? And if you can't go by step 2, and step 2 is believing in a higher power and giving, your weaknesses to a higher power. And I have to break it down. I have to say, if you can't take God, if you really are anti-God, you don't believe in God, then you know what? This guy's wearing an anthrax shirt. I go, take anthrax, make them your higher power, whatever you want. But Jesus is my higher power. I already have that, And then my counselor says, Dan, this isn't a preaching thing. You can't really preach too much. You got to just be spiritual and not Christian. I'm like, how can you not be?
Well, Dan, in my experience, and again, I can only speak from my experience. There's the majority of the people I have come across in my life who say, I don't believe in God. Simply put, it's because God sets rules. God sets expectations. God says this is the way you should do things because I say it's the way you should do things and because it's the right thing to do. And that can be from anything from love thy neighbor to thou shalt not steal, to honor thy father and mother. Those are rules that have been given to us and set forth by God.
Yeah, and
most people who say that they don't believe in God, the reason they don't believe in God is because those rules are hard for them to follow. It takes effort. It's just like you say you've been married 23 years, I've been married 30 years. That doesn't just happen. Marriage isn't easy. It's not always blissful. It takes work. Well, so does your belief. It takes work. And people who say that they don't believe, in my experience, the ones when I've talked to them and really got down to the brass tacks with them on it, the reason they don't believe is because they don't want to do the work required to believe. It's easier just to say, I worship me. I worship myself. I worship today. I worship my possessions. This is all done because of me. That's easy for them.
Yeah. Well, we're like going like all crazy. We're going everywhere.
Yeah. Hey, you lead the way, I follow.
Yeah, I asked the questions here. It's the Jeff Stewart Show. If you want to call in and join in on our conversation about just about everything, 909-360-8330. I say we talked to my friend Gary, who was a catcher in the Bad News Bear, the chubby catcher, who was kind of stereotyped, I think, back in the day. And now he's a businessman, travels internationally, a Christian, obviously, just like myself. And, and I tell people, hey, I'm a Christian, and I don't preach, but, I am an ordained minister. So, and I became ordained for one reason, and that was to marry a couple, and then I ended up marrying my nephew. I ended up marrying my son, and then I ended up marrying another couple, and, so it's kind of cool doing that. And, because I like to counsel them, because marriage is work, it's, and I think God, like I said, God's a glue, man. You got it. That's how you stay together. That's how me and my wife have been along together for so long, and I'm sure with you and your wife.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whereabouts in Texas do you live?
I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I'm in a suburb called Carrollton, the north portion of the suburb. And like most cities, Dallas has grown to the north. So, I've lived here my whole life and progressively have moved north with the city. Where I live now, what's funny is where I live now is about 5 miles north of my old home. And when I moved into my old home, I was shocked because I went across the street to a park, and I thought I had one of those deja vu feelings. And just happened to look at a tree and see an old deer blind up in the tree from back when it had been country, which was all of about 10 years earlier. And looked at the base of the tree, and my initials were carved in it. And it dawned on me it's a deer stand that I had used with my friends who had owned this property in a big farm that they had back when I was in high school. So, as I said, it's moved north. I'm now probably 25, 30 miles north of where I grew up and went to high school. And but that's about as far afield as I've gone.
Yeah, you sound kind of like me. I've spent, I'm a Southern California boy, born in Pomona, and then from there I lived in Upland and Ranch Cucamonga. We're 40 minutes from L.A., depending on traffic. It could be 2 hours from L.A., but if you go when there's no traffic, which is never, you can go out to L.A. at 2 in the morning. There's traffic. I mean, it's ridiculous. But, we're in the suburbs, and this is where our studio is. I live like 5 miles away, so I'm like right up the street. So if anybody needs to get in the studio and cut a spot or anything, I could always come down because I'm right up this street, so it's not a big deal. So, but I've always been a local boy. I went to Altaloma Elementary, Altaloma Junior High, and Altaloma High School, and from there to Chaffee College, and then San Bernardino State. So I haven't strayed too far. I like staying here. I live a mile from my dad, who needs my help sometimes. So
I hear that. I actually this past weekend have moved my 79-year-old mother in with us. So, they take care of us early in life, and we take care of them late in life. So
yeah, that's the way it works.
It's the way it is.
No, I always take care of my dad, but it's good that he's just a mile away. My mom, on the other hand, I just got back from Thanksgiving. She lives all the way. It's a 9-hour drive, all the way outside of Lake Tahoe in a little town called Gardnersville in Nevada. And, man, the drive was exhausting. But, but it's to be with her, And she came out and saw me when I was sick and in a coma. And she spent 2 weeks with me as I rehabilitated myself and learned to walk again. You don't realize when you're in a coma and you're asleep for 30 days that you lose your ability to walk. And to learn it again is hard.
I sometimes lose that ability after a night at a bar, but okay.
I haven't had one of those nights in a while. It was a nice Thanksgiving. What did you do for Thanksgiving?
Just family.
Turkey or ham?
No. Oh, both.
Both.
Yeah. We had 18 people. So my family, my brother and my two brothers' families, and my mother and a couple of close friends, and just had everybody brought something. It was kind of like a potluck. So ham, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese, vegetables, salads, and lots of desserts.
That was pretty much ours too at my mom's house. Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you this because so I watched the movie last night, but I had to pay for it. I checked Netflix, I checked YouTube, I checked everywhere. I paid $2.99 for it. Are you gonna see any of that $2.99?
Oh no. Back when Bad News Bears was made, there was no such thing as a VHS, Betamax, CDs, DVDs, cable, Netflix. None of that was ever envisioned. So while that's a very big part of contracts today that it was never even mentioned in our agreements with Paramount. We get residual checks when when the show is played upon national television, which is ABC, NBC, CBS, or Fox, and that's about it. And those checks get smaller and smaller. I think now I get if it's shown, I get $75 every time it's shown, and by the time Uncle Sam in California take their share out of it, that check I think is like a $37 check.
Wow, that's a shame.
Oh.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
because I really tried not to pay to watch the movie, but I did.
Yeah.
I think it was I don't know. I think it was Spectrum that I got it through our local provider, and they said, I thought it'd be for free because it's such an old classic movie. I could watch some movies like Pulp Fiction. I could watch that for free anytime, any place, anywhere. I could watch it on my phone. But Bad News Bears, Blazing Saddles, they want me to pay for it, and I'm, and I don't know the whole rigmarole of the SAG and this and that, but I paid, so I'm like, hopefully I was hoping, hopefully Gary gets some money from it, but I guess you don't. But I guess I don't know where it goes. I guess it goes to the cable companies.
I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know where the money goes.
Yeah, them or Paramount.
Yeah, Paramount's still around, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of funny seeing that old Paramount screen right before the movie started, and but I'll tell you what, it was a great movie.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, and you were great in it. All the kids were great in it. I feel bad you guys didn't get residuals, and you're not getting residuals off, people watching it on the internet or pay-per-view or whatever. That's a shame. That's kind of a rep-off, but it's enjoyable, and I encourage anybody who could watch it. It's totally non-PC, so don't get your panties in a bunch if you see something you don't like, boo-hoo, go home. And then don't watch it, okay? Because it's not a PC movie. It's a good movie. It's not PC. But I really enjoyed it last night, and I enjoy having you on my show. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have anything to plug? Anything?
No, not really.
Nothing coming up? No conventions? No nothing?
No, we're just gearing down for the holiday season, so nothing at this point now.
What are you going to do for Christmas now that Christmas is already coming?
Take about we're in the process of trying to buy a new house, so hopefully I'll have that deal closed middle of December, and so in between just relaxing with family and friends, we'll be moving loads from our current house over to the new house and trying to get the current one ready to sell. So that's going to be my lot for the next 30 days or so.
Yeah, that could be very time consuming.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think today I'm going to break out my Christmas decorations. We're going to keep staying in our house, and maybe tonight we'll buy a Christmas tree.
Well, good luck to you on that one, and I hope you and all your listeners have a wonderful Christmas and holiday season. And I'll be very politically incorrect and wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
All right. Can you do me a favor?
Sure.
Tell Doug from from England, from the UK, hello.
Tell Doug from Doug from the UK. This is Gary Cavanero, Engelberg from the Bad News Bears, wishing you hello.
Thank you. Because we got listeners all over the world. We got a couple of people listen from England and Australia, and of course here in the United States, of course in Southern California, which I'm getting sick of. But I was born and raised here, and I don't know. It's gonna be I had my best man at my wedding just moved to Dallas and last year, and he loves it. And he's telling me about his taxes and everything's so cheap there, and he bought a big house for like $150,000, and I'm like, you can't buy a cardboard box for $150,000 in California, and no, and he's enjoying life in Texas. So he's like, come on out, Dan. Come on out, Dan. Come on out, Dan. I'm like, Scott, I don't know. I can't leave.
Well, I've been trying to get Aaron Blunt, who played Ahmad, to move down here as well. So,
all right. Well, Gary, thanks for coming on, man. That was really huge. Okay.
My pleasure. Take care.
Hopefully, if you're ever in town, we'll cross paths and have a cup of coffee or something.
I would like that very much. Thank you.
And thank you for coming on the Jeff Sargent show. Too bad Jeff wasn't here. He's missing out. So you got me, the producer, okay? So,
okay.
All right, man. Well, take care. I'll let you go. Go do your Christmas shopping.
I have plenty of that to do. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
I always wait till Christmas Eve, and then I'll do mine.
All right. Well, you take care. Have a good week and a good season.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you. All right, people. That's Gary, the catcher from the Bad News Bears. Wow, that was a great conversation. We talked all about everything. That's what I do here when I do my show. But this is not my show. It's a Jeff Sargent show, everybody. Yeah. So Jeff will be back, I think, on Monday. I have a guest on Friday. Guy, I'm so glad he came in. I watched Bad News Bears last night, and what a great movie. You cannot make a movie like that these days, unfortunately. But what a great movie that it was at the time. I don't know what's going on. Dead air alert. Dead air alert. Dead air alert. Dead air alert. Okay, there we go. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just going to play some Christmas songs and stuff, and I'll talk a little bit more about the Bad News Bears. If you have any questions, 909-360-8330. But I'll tell you what, the Bad News Bears has not reached the peak of Blazing Saddles, but it should, because it's just as a not raunchy, but just as politically incorrect. So it's a great movie. So if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you got an old DVD of it or a CD of it, or does anybody have VHS anymore? Do you have a VHS player? Anybody? Watch your VHS thing of it. Okay, I'm gonna play some Christmas songs here.
Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, I don't want to. much of my time they'll waste. Oh God, I hate these Satan's helpers. And then I guess I must have snapped because I grabbed the baseball bat and made them all run for shelter. It's Christmas time again. It's time to be nice to the people you can't stand. All year I'm growing tired of all this Christmas cheer. You people scare me. Please stay away from my home. If you don't want to get beat down, just leave the presents and then leave me alone. Well, I guess it's not cool to freak on Christmas Eve, 'cause the cops came and arrested me. They had an unfair advantage. And even though the jail didn't have a tree, Christmas came a night early, 'cause a guy named Bubba unwrapped my package. It's Christmas time again. It's time to be nice to the people you can't stand. All year I'm growing tired of all this Christmas cheer. You people scare me. Please stay away from my home. If you don't want to get beat down, just leave the presents and then leave me alone. I won't be home. I won't be home for Christmas. I won't be home. I won't be home for Christmas. I won't be home. I won't be home for Christmas. I won't be home. I won't be home for Christmas. I won't be home. I won't be home for Christmas. I won't be home. I won't be home for Christmas. Maybe light a candle. Don't say a prayer for me. Feel alone, 'cause I'm gone. I left you, make Christmas your own. Throw the thought of us away. You'll be alone this holiday. Santa's cold in this town, and there's snow on the ground. Far from home, not alone. I left you with nothing, and that's what you owe. Yeah, throw the thought of us away. You'll be alone this holiday. Maybe light a candle. Don't say a prayer for me. Feel alone. Not left to the best time. Make Christmas your own. Yeah, throw the thought of us away. You'll be alone this holiday. This holiday. this holiday.
Some more Christmas music here. This one reminds me of high school. I love this song.
Bah, humbug, well, that's too strong, 'cause it is my favorite holiday. But all this year's been a busy blur, don't think I have the energy to add to my already mad rush, just 'cause it's 'tis the season. The perfect gift for me would be completions and connections left from last year. Ski shop encounter, most interesting, had his number but never the time. Most of 81 pass along those lines, so deck those halls, trim those trees, raise up cups of Christmas cheer. I just need to catch my breath. Christmas by myself this year. Count the picture, frozen landscape, chill this room for 24 days. Evergreen, sparkling snow, get this winter over with. Flashback to springtime, saw him again. Would have been good to go for lunch. Couldn't agree, and we were both free. We tried, we said we'd keep in touch. Didn't, of course, till summertime. Out to the beach to his boat, could I join him? No, this time it was me. Sunburn in the 3rd degree. Now the calendar's just one page, of course I am excited. Tonight's the night I've set my mind not to do too much about it. Merry Christmas, but I think I'll miss this one this year. Merry Christmas, but I think I'll miss this one this year. Merry Christmas, but I think I'll miss this one this year. Merry Christmas, but I think I'll miss this one this year. Hardly dashing through the snow, 'cause I bundled up too tight. Last minute, have to do a few cards, a few calls, because it's RSVP. No thanks, no party lights, it's Christmas Eve. Gonna relax, turn down all of my invites. Last fall, I had a night to myself. Same guy called, Halloween party. Waited all night for him to show. This time his car wouldn't go. Forget it, it's cold, it's getting late. Trudge on home to celebrate in a quiet way. Unwind, doing Christmas right this time. A&P has provided me with the world's smallest turkey, already in the oven, nice and hot. Oh damn, guess what I forgot? So on with the boots, back out in the snow to the only all-night grocery. When what to my wondering eyes should appear in the line is that guy I've been chasing all year. And in this one alone, he said, "Need a break, this year's been crazy." I said, "Me too, but why are you? You mean you forgot cranberries too?" Then suddenly we laughed and laughed, caught on to what was happening. That Christmas magic's brought this tale to a very happy ending. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, couldn't miss this one this year. 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 Merry Christmas, couldn't miss this one this year.
Okay, that was the Waitresses. Wow. It I love that song. I kind of had a crush on the singer or the waitresses. She was kind of hot. I don't know her name. I don't remember her name. My brain is mush due to drugs and alcohol, but that's fine, you know. So, thank you, Doug. Thank you. So yeah, so we're gonna continue on, but I'm gonna go a little off edge here. Since we still have a few minutes left, one, I want to thank our sponsors, Pacific Wine Merchants in downtown Upland, right next to the Metrolink. Get great wine. They have wine tasting. They have bands on Friday and Saturday nights, and they also have the one of the biggest, if not the biggest, humidifier for cigars. If you're a cigar aficionado, which I'm not, but if you are, and I don't drink wine, but they have San Pellegrino, and they have a great patio to enjoy live music, and they have great, I wouldn't say a menu, but they always have cheese and crackers and just, a meats and just, sometimes they barbecue, and it's a great place. It's a great place. So that's Pacific Wine Merchants. So you got to check them out. Also, New York Bagel Company up on Foothill and Archibald, right by the Starbucks up there. Even though I don't frequent Starbucks, I do frequent New York Bagel Company. They have got the best bagels. They're not frozen. They're made there fresh. So, yeah. So, you check those places out. Those are our sponsors right now. Looking on getting some more on board. But I'm going to play, I'm going to get a little bit more traditional, okay? So, this is Silent Night by The Temptations.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
In my mind, I want you to be free. For all of our friends, would you listen to me? Now hear what I say. We wish you a Merry Christmas to each one of you. One of you.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Round young virgin, mother and child, holy infant, so tender and mild, sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep, sleep in heaven, heavenly peace.
Go on and rest your mind and sleep. Sleep in heavenly.
Silent night, holy night, shepherds pray, from heaven afar. Heavenly hosts sing hallelujah. The Savior is born. Oh yes, Christ the Savior is born. What a joyous day. As I sit around by the fireplace, watching a gleaming tree. If I had one wish in this world, it would be that all men would be free. Let's all hold hands. Let's celebrate the Savior's birth. Let's give thanks unto the world. Jesus, tender and mild. Sleep in heaven, heavenly peace. Just sleep and relax your mind. To all our family and friends, I want you to remember this line. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all of you. And we mean it. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all of you. Merry Christmas from the Temptations.
Isn't that a classic? The Temptations, Silent Night, Christmas coming up soon here. I don't know if you've done your Christmas shopping. I have not done mine. Silent Night, the day he was born. Was it Christmas? Was it in February? Was it in March? When was Christ born? When was our Savior born? It's a debate that goes in my family of somewhat Jewish heritage. A lot of my family is Jewish, and they don't celebrate Christmas. They celebrate Hanukkah. And Hanukkah is another important holiday. But I celebrate Christmas as a Christian, whether it's Christ's birth, actual calculated, actual date of his birth. I don't know, and they don't know either. Even though they think they know, they don't know. We don't know the exact date Christ was born, but this is the day we celebrate, the day of Christ, the day of our Savior, that he was born, is Christmas. So whether it's the exact date or not that he was born, that doesn't matter. This is the day that we celebrate of his birth. I mean, it's a great day. You know, that's when you get together with friends and family that you haven't seen in years, and you celebrate and you get together, and it's a great time of the year. I enjoy the holiday seasons, and so no, that's when we feast, and it's I'm very blessed, you know, and there's a lot of people out there that aren't, and thank you for those who went out to Skid Row with my friend Dominic and went out and gave clothes and blankets to the homeless out there in Skid Row. I was going to do it. I couldn't. I was in visiting my mom in just little town outside of Lake Tahoe called Gardnersville. So I'm going to end the show here in just a second. I'm going to play something that you wouldn't think I'd ever play, but I've never even heard the song, but I'm just scrolling. I'm scrolling right now as I'm doing my radio show. I feel like a disc jockey because I'm just playing music right now because I had a great guest on, Gary, the catcher in the movie The Bad News Bears. Great guest, great guy. We share a lot of the same values, which was good to know. I hate getting really opinionated left-wing people on, and but no, he wasn't one of them. He was more had the same mindset as I do. So I'm gonna play this song. It's okay. I'm not even gonna introduce it. Okay, I'm just gonna play it, and I'm. You say what you want. 909-360-8330, or you could email me.
If you're the only thing I ever get for Christmas, then everything I wish for has come true. You're the single item on my list. You're my one and only Christmas wish. The mistletoe is where I'll be waiting, meet me there. I know someone out there knows what I'm saying. Oh no, baby, you're a girl who's wishing just like me. Yeah, yeah. There is one and you know who you are. My gift to you is all my heart. Make my holiday and hear me when I say you're the only thing I ever get for Christmas. Everything I wish for has come true. You're the single item on my list. You're my one and only Christmas wish. The mistletoe is where I'll be waiting, meet me there. In the morning I know everybody's rushing to see what's underneath the Christmas tree. Know what I mean, 'cause I don't find it there. Underneath the mistletoe is where you make my holidays. So hear me when I say yeah. You're the only thing I ever get for Christmas. Everything I wish for has come everything true. I wish for, yeah, yeah. You're the single item on my list. You're my one and only Christmas wish. The mistletoe is where I'll be waiting, meet me there. Me there, yeah. Yeah. Only you can make this a merry, merry Christmas, yeah. There is one and you know who you are. My gift to you is all my heart. Make my holiday. Hear me when I say yeah. You're the only thing I ever get for Christmas. Everything I wish for has come true. You're the single item on my list. You're my one and only Christmas wish. The mistletoe is where I'll be waiting, meet me there. All I ever wanted was you this Christmas. Yeah, 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 yeah. I need you, baby. You're the single item on my list. You're my one and only Christmas wish. The mistletoe is where I'll be waiting, kiss me there. I'll be waiting, kiss me there.
Wow, who would ever think I'd play Justin Bieber on my show, but I just did. Guilty as charged. Okay, we're just about winding up the show here, but I'm going to end this with one of my favorite bands. I saw them live back in the early 90s at the Hollywood Palladium, the Cockatoo Twins. A strange band. I don't know their lyrics or anything. This is Frosty the Snowman by the Cockatoo Twins. Wow, Cockadoo Twins, Frosty the Snowman. I could play more of their music. In fact, I could stay here all day, but my time's running out. So I could stay here and play a lot of different Christmas songs. I went from the Ramones to Justin Bieber to the Waitresses, and a lot of Christmas tunes out there. So it's great. It's a celebration of the season. It's a celebration for our Savior, for Jesus Christ. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in, listening in. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. You get a look at my ugly face. You know, everybody says it's ugly, except for my wife and my mom. And but thank you for listening in, and I'll see you hopefully tomorrow. Jeff's again is probably going to be working, so they're kind of putting it's a one-man show. As if you go to YouTube, you can see the studio's empty. There's nobody in there. Okay, it's me in the engineer studio doing the show from in here, because that gives me access to everything else. So, and I could take calls and do calls and call people like I did today. So we're going to end this show, and we're going to go on to some music. I don't know what's planned. That's not my thing. I don't even know how to work this. Okay. Good night. Good night. Good morning. Enjoy your day today. Make the best of it. Get your Christmas shopping done. I got to start mine.